Good afternoon and welcome to the Burnside Bowling Club in Christchurch, where we're about to bring you the final of the women's singles, which will be held between Taylor Bruce and Claire Hendra, who of course earlier on in this event were beaten in the final by Sandra Keith and Bev Morrell. So now it's ironic, both of these players have won their way through to the final. We just saw Taylor Bruce defeat Selena Goddard 21-20 in a real nail-biter. In fact, Taylor Bruce was 3 or 4 down, and with her last bowl, drew a toucher to get an elusive one to take her to 21 and run out the winner and play, which I think is in her third singles final, and up against Claire Hendra of Silverstream, who earlier defeated Mandy Boyd in her semi-final. Also underway at the same time will be the semi-final of the men's pairs. And we've got Kelvin Scott up against Gary Lawson. Gary Lawson playing with Tony Grantham, and with Andrew Kelly, we have got Barry Williams from the Burnside Club, and the other side of the draw, Jesse Russell and Taylor Horn up against Andrew Kelly and Seamus Curtin. And we'll be bringing you that final later on this afternoon. So I've got with me Mike Kernhan for a few moments. I'm delighted to be able to have Mike here, who's the high performance now guru for Bowls New Zealand with a big year in front of him. And welcome, Mike. Good to have you here.
Thanks, Kevin. Good morning to everyone.
After your daughter's magnificent wedding a couple of days ago in Auckland, where young Kate, father of the bride, sitting next to me. I've seen the photos from the very proud father today, and so a very enjoyable family wedding in Auckland.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's a good job she looks after her mother. Her looks take after her mother and not me. But no, it was a great day out.
That's fantastic. So, Mike, I'm not going to say you're fairly new in this role. You've been around for a long time, but this is a new sort of role that you've taken on. So, it's high performance right throughout the game, so to speak.
Yeah. So, Bowls New Zealand's taken a giant step in my view, in that we've now got not only the open players and the development players, but we've also got all of the para athletes and the visually impaired athletes. So they're all in the same group, and we're working with each of them and really enjoying having them on board.
And is that also as well, Mike, including what we would call the up and coming players, the talent of some of the, not those who are perhaps in the blackjack squad right now, but that are players who are of prominence around the respective provinces? And
yeah, so we've got 42 athletes in the group at the moment, including the para athletes, and in the open men and women there's about 14 men and 14 women that we're working with currently. So that's really cool that we're giving that opportunity to, as you've described, those players that are not only knocking on the door, but very desperate to become a part of the Blackjacks team.
And you'd be pleased, obviously, as like Philip Skoglund, yourself, and Peter Bellis, I presume, you'd be pretty happy building to the Commonwealth, going to some of the performances like Claire Hendra and Taylor Bruce, to name but a few, and a couple in Selena Goddard. These are sort of performances that ideally that you're looking for, aren't you? Just to give you cement in your own mind that these are our top line players.
Well, it's encouraging that they're actually putting performances on these quick greens when they, to be fair, a lot of them have been training almost exclusively, but not exclusively, if I can say that, on heavy tracks. So it's good that they're putting these sorts of performances on this type of or pace of green, when their focus in 3 weeks' time will be very much on a 10-11 second green. And
interesting, I got a text, in fact, via World Bowls 2 days ago, and where they're aiming at to hope that limited on Spa to be between 12 and 13 seconds, which, if it is, would be acceptable, isn't it? Well, not acceptable, but it's more manageable.
Yeah, look, I think the quicker it is, the easier it will be to adjust, but I mean, it will only run 12 or 13 if it doesn't rain. And we're playing in Birmingham. So,
to be fair, Mike, the closing 2 words on the text message that I got said exactly that.
Yeah.
that. So if we have fine weather in Birmingham, we're looking at, say, 12 and 13. If we have Birmingham weather, it could be 9 or 10.
Yep.
So So there's a training camp coming up, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, there's a trial on Waitangi weekend. So we've got everyone there, including the paras and the visually impaired. And we have to nominate the para athletes and the visually impaired the week after the trial. So we nominate them to the NZOC. So there's a lot of pressure on those boys and girls Waitangi weekend.
Is that two male, two female? Is that what makes
so it's a male pair and a female pair, and the visually impaired is a mixed pair.
Right, okay.
And we don't have to nominate the open 5 men and 5 women until towards the end of March.
Okay, so would that then mean that if we go to Mount Tambourine and Queen's Birthday weekend, if we go there, it would be the Commonwealth Games side that would be going to Mount Tambourine?
Yes.
Okay, right. So for those there, we were to have a Trans-Tasman match coming up in March, where the plan was to take a good number of both the male and female squad, wasn't it, Mike, to as a sort of a hit out on a slower green at Mount Tambourine?
Yeah, we were going to take, and Australia wanted it for the same reasons we wanted it. We were going to have 10 men and 10 women in the open Trans-Tasman event. We would have taken the para athletes and the visually impaired athletes, but that would have been the games because they would have already been selected by then. So we would have had a team of 28 going to the Trans-Tasman because the visually impaired obviously have a director each. So it was going to be a big team that we were taking across.
So how then the Waitangi weekend and borders and all that, we've got 3 Australian-based players who are part of that high-performance squad.
Yep.
Are you hoping by Queen's Birthday that there's some relaxation both ways for the border for those players?
Well, to be fair, we're hoping earlier because we really do want to see them play. I mean, we all know about Ali Forsyth and Caitlin Inch, but we do want to see Chris Lever as well. And if we can do something, if the MIQ restrictions are relaxed at the end of February like they say they are, then hopefully we could do something in March, maybe after the Nationals, and have everyone together so everyone gets the opportunity.
Yeah, and that's ideal. That's ideal. So also, well, I'm talking from Auckland Bowls' point of view, and I know you'd be delighted to now that we've got Leif Selby involved in the high performance area, taking on his role at Auckland Bowls. I'm sure you would. You wouldn't hesitate. I wouldn't imagine at some point in time you would use the expertise of Leif Selby as in some way. Not right now, I'm saying about, but he certainly brings a lot to the sport, doesn't he?
Oh, absolutely. Just delighted that Auckland Bowls have made that appointment because it does give Bowls New Zealand the opportunity, as you suggest, to tap into the knowledge and the experience and the expertise that he brings. And former world singles champion, you don't get much better than that. And he's a good fella too.
A good guy, and certainly he's got what I would call a good mature mentoring mindset as well, which I think I know already with some of the younger players in Auckland that he will be putting some time into them to get things right. And we'll just look at the Taylor Bruce, as you see, scored a 3 on the first. Looks like another 1 here. So, but Taylor Bruce and Selena Goddard, you were out there, no doubt, Mike. That was a great finish to that semi-final.
Yeah, look, they both played very well at times. So, from 12 all, Selena let it slip and was 20-12 down, and then, to her credit, got her act together and started playing really, really well and put a heck of a lot of pressure on Taylor. And as you've already described, Taylor was 4 down. Selena only needed 2 to go out, and she was 4 down and drew a touch with the last bowl to win the game. So,
changed the hand.
Yeah, well, she played that hand with a third bowl.
She played that hand and went through the hip, past the head, didn't she?
Yeah.
And then adjusted again and just adjusted. On a home. I'm not saying because it's on a home green at all, but it was a great bowl under pressure to take her to 21, and she started well in this final. And you might correct me, but I think this is her third final.
I know there's at least 3. so that I'm aware of.
I remember one in Dunedin, one here, and there could be others. I'm not sure, but those ones come to mind. So your role now, Mike, is your full time as full time, part time. Is that what I call it? Is that
Yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah, that's a good way of describing it, isn't it? And is it the intention that you will get around the country to certain events to look at some of the players who, as the sport moves forward, because no disrespect, not everyone's there forever, and you've got to be building from the base, don't you?
Yeah, and look, I have been moving around, so I watched the Nelson singles for the women, and was there for the Nelson pairs, or the Stokes pairs.
Yes.
Didn't play at the Valley 10,000, just watched that. So I've been, as much as we can, given COVID restrictions these days, I've tried to get around and have a look at the players. But one thing I would say, Kevin, is that the reason why we've got such a big squad is that Commonwealth Games are on slow tracks this year. Then we go back to the Gold Coast for the World Champs the following year, and that's on 14, 15, 16 second greens. But the next 3 or 4 events after that, internationally, are all back on the 9, 10, 11 second greens. So what we've said to these players is that, and particularly the younger ones that are coming through, is that the journey doesn't finish if you don't get in the Commonwealth Games team, because 3, 4, 5 years out, as you've suggested, there will be natural turnover of players as they circumstances change or form changes. So these guys, this is the first year in a 5-year program for them.
And of course, with the World Bowls now, we've gone from a 4-year cycle to a 2-year cycle.
Yep.
So now if we take Commonwealth Games, before it was always every 2 years there was events. We haven't got the Asia Pacific Championships now.
No.
That's been, there's a good bowl from Claire Hendra, and I'm sure she's got a couple there. So instead of having the Asia Pacifics now, we've got the World Championships every 2 years.
Yep.
And of course we'll have our annual Trans-Tasman home and away against Australia. So there will be plenty of opportunity going forward now for I'd call them the up and coming players. And what's the stocks look like, really? Outside your top half a dozen players, sort of thing.
Oh, look, there's a lot of younger players coming through, and we've got Seamus out there at the moment playing in the semi-final of the pairs, and whilst he has been capped, he's only been capped, he's only had one game or one event, I think. Andrew Kelly's still pretty young, but there are other people that are genuinely doing all of the right things, and I was talking to Peter Ballas last night on the way home. And
on the drive is Taylor Bruce, and successfully gets the jack, takes the shot bowls out, plenty of room. One would think for Claire Hendra there's plenty of room there, Mike, isn't there, really?
Hopefully she would draw a shot.
Hopefully she would draw.
She'd be disappointed if she didn't. So, talking to PB last night, and these young fellas, they need to regularly be in contention and learn how to compose themselves in these semi-finals and finals, and eventually learn how to get across the line.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say, Mike, I'm not going to say disappointing, but I'd say frustrating things that we've seen over the last few years. We've seen a number of our younger players, and I'm not going to name any, but younger players who have done so well, but then when it just comes to, I'll say, the money stage, they just haven't quite been able to get that consistency. The likes of, oh goodness, this is tempting to try and get down.
Well, there's half a dozen of them, Kevin, and I think the bowling community knows who those players are, and they're hugely talented. Don't get me wrong, they can play. But like all sport, and any sport, you've got to learn how to play at the next level. And making that transition from being a good domestic player to a top domestic player who wins stuff regularly, like the Andrew Kellys, the Gary Lawsons, the Ellie Forsyths, the Caitlin Inches, Selena Goddard, these two guys, the two ladies that are playing at the moment, all of these younger players coming through their aspiration should be to be able to mirror what those athletes I've just mentioned are able to do.
And I'll use Taylor Bruce and Claire Hendry as two examples, and Selena Goddard in the women's, that they have been at national championships, have been ultra consistent over the last 4 or 5 years, haven't
Totally.
they?
Yep.
They've been, let's say, they've been thereabouts on the last day, which is really, which is an important part. As has Andrew Kelly, as an example. The last few nationals, he's been around. A player another player to me who has come back and has done that as well is Mike Galloway, who's a player who, won the New Zealand singles last year, won the New Zealand the triples, the champion triples, got the semi-finals here, and he's another player now who's sort of on the, I'd say, comeback, or but he's certainly. Those are the results that you're looking for, aren't you?
Absolutely.
It's about consistency of getting there, isn't it?
And it's about always being in the fight. And you look at Tony Grantham, who's made a bit of a comeback after a shoulder injury, and to be 15-3 down in the final, but to still have the tenacity and the capability to fight his way back into the game. And at 18-14, he was back in the game.
Absolutely, he was.
And that last bowl he played, if he got a very fine rub on
he was close.
Bowl, if he's got a thicker rub, he's got the jack and itch for 3, and all of a sudden it's 19-17.
The other thing, and I think what you've got to remember as well about that final, at that, I'd say the midway stages, Kelvin Scott was outstanding. His consistency with his 4 bowls and his weight control. And it wasn't at all that Tony Grantham was not playing well. It was just that really Kelvin Scott just had great game management, played the shots, and really put the pressure on. But Tony Grantham fought back all the way, didn't he?
Yeah. And that's the difference, and that's what we're looking for. Is you're not going to play well every game. But it's your ability to cope when you aren't playing well, and to get yourself back into that place where you're starting to feel it, and you can recover.
Well, the other thing, to be fair, Michael, which has really impressed me at these particular nationals, and it's always been a bugbear of mine of New Zealand players, and it was very evident the last time that we were in Australia, about the difficulty that our players continuously had on finding the centre line and getting consistency in and around that centre line, because if you're going to do that, you're going to produce good results. Overall, watching the days that I've had here, that, in my viewpoint, has been a significant improvement.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen it, obviously, all of it, but so that's good to hear. I mean, just looking at this head now, and Claire's under the pump. She's 4-1 down. She's thrown the jack in the ditch when she was trying to throw a short end. Taylor's played 2 bombs. Now's going for cover, which is another very good bowl. But all of Taylor's bowls are basically on the centre line.
Absolutely,
so she's got a line, and Claire's just battling a bit with her line, and that then impacts on her weight control. And you can see she's got one a bit too heavy, but the other 2 are sort of in the head, but one's 2 foot short, and the other one's 2'6".
Well, I must say that the hand they're playing, as we've had a number of games just in that particular area, the hand they're playing is the harder hand. It's
really?
Yeah, it's been the most challenging insofar as your line has to be pretty much exact, because if you were watching some bowls this morning, you just see that last 6 feet trying to grab to get to to draw.
Yep.
And of course, the old story, if you cut your green, you pay for it.
Well, particularly in Christchurch greens, and it's not a criticism, it's just they're so good, but if you're inside the line, it will start turning early, and
There's an interesting charge at the head that might be successful, got rid of 1.
Yep.
So you could say that was a good percentage shot that got cut from 2 to 1. So and of course Taylor Bruce still got a bowl left, but more than likely an easier shot selection possibly than trying to draw, because you can see from the 3 bowls couldn't find that consistency. That's in the draw. So possibly playing what Claire regarded as best percentage shot to try and either get that jack contact or to reduce, which she did. And it's interesting to say about the greens, Michael, because Yeah, people have been. I was asked the other day, in fact, on air, about the difference of playing the game v Christchurch, for example, versus Auckland.
Yep.
And it's a different. It's the concept of the game, principle of the game, is still exactly the same, but perhaps some of the shot selection is somewhat different.
No, totally. That's another good bowl from Taylor.
So it is.
It's important when you get a couple of feet to draw the bonus that you do. It just puts more pressure on the opposition. Obviously, adds to your bit on the scoreboard. So Taylor's made a really, really good start here, and Claire needs to find something to get herself back in the game. She tried to change the length, and
was lost control of the jack.
Yeah, so she'll be disappointed with that.
So I don't want to hold you up, Mike. You got a busy schedule, I know, looking at players and etc. But it's fantastic to have you. I think it's the long overdue to have someone like yourself in this, what I would call high performance management. And to me, the encouraging thing is that what we're looking at is a longer time frame of a group of players rather than selecting a New Zealand team for an event. But we are looking longer term to try and get that.
Yeah. And there are people outside of the squad, you know, Aidan Takarua and Richard Hocking played this morning
Absolutely.
in the quarter-final, and whilst they weren't successful, those two guys have made a lot of progress in the last 3 or 4 years, and again, they just need to make that breakthrough. So they need to win those quarterfinals and not lose them. But they were up against Calvin, who's had a wonderful tournament so far.
Well, to be fair, this morning, the Barry Williams was outstanding.
He played good too, yeah.
He was very, very consistent off the front. He for a number of those 18 ends. His first bowl actually owned the head, you know, because he was getting that just consistently drawing just lower the jack, but right on the centre line, and he was doing that consistently. It's interesting. He was telling me his what attracted him to the game was he came along many years ago. And was watching Rob Perella and Rowan Brassey play one another, and he was a real king golfer.
Yeah,
and he came to Burnside for 2 days and watched, and his mindset was, I've got to take this game up. Here's a good response here from Taylor Bruce. It's just in behind the jack, but very, very good opening bowl. So yeah, it was Rob Perella and Rowan Brassey, Taylor Bruce. It was of course Kelsey Cottrell in 2008, who was the catalyst for Taylor to say, I want to take up this sport, and she's now, of course, blackjack and been a very consistent performer. So the big weekend's coming up. Waitangi weekend, Mike, really, is it? That's
yes, and the players have got now. They've finished this week. They've got 3.5 weeks or 4 weeks actually to start training again on those 10-11 second croquet greens, or those lucky enough in the Auckland region to practice at Rocky Nook, because Rocky Nook, Taylor's just
falling a bowl short. So Rocky Nook, the Irish club.
Yes,
it is the Irish club.
A couple of 3 weeks ago and saw the Irish club there. But no, look, Jamie Hill's the greenkeeper there, and it's a grass green, the green they don't really use very often, and he's assured me he's going to have it running about 10 or 11 seconds for the weekend, so that'll be a really good test for these guys.
And that will be literally like in-house matches, will it be?
Yep.
And they'll be up against one another, trying various combinations and just looking at how they...
and deliberately putting players under pressure. So
correct.
Because I keep saying it and I bore people when I say it, but it was another good bowl from Claire, by the way.
It certainly was.
We can all play well. It's what happens when we're not playing well that's the most important thing.
Well, Michael, you and I both know of recent years on our trips to Australia for the Māori Nations and Trans-Tasman, etc. That point you just made then has been a major contributing factor to perhaps this not the difference between winning and losing.
Yep.
About that, we will play a third of a game very good.
Yep.
We'll play a third of a game average, and then the other third we're poor. And it's about lifting, and that's not in regard to the players at all. No one means to do that. Good attempt here from Taylor Bruce, just going to slide under it, and does. So it's about building up that high performance consistency under pressure, isn't it? That's and that's what it's all about. So that's Mike Kernahan, ladies and gentlemen, the high performance manager of Bowls New Zealand, and of course a world champion in his own right, winner of the fours, in fact, out here at the Burnside Club a few years ago, and will be part, of course, of that New Zealand side going forward to the Commonwealth Games and beyond. So thank you, Michael, and I know we all wish you all the best for the coming year and, of course, the Commonwealth Games. Hello, Alex.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
So I've got Alex Reid back with me, and I will then have Taylor. Sorry, Taylor Bruce is playing, isn't she?
She could pop in and have a chat.
Dale Rayner, who's another player who is in that high performance squad.
She is.
Represented New Zealand in Delhi in 2010. Was runner-up in the national peers last year in Auckland, and was a winner of a number of Wellington titles, and a very prominent, like yourself, Alex, indoor bowler.
Yeah, she's a very good indoor bowler, as Dale. She's represented New Zealand on and off since the mid-90s in indoor bowls, so knows what she's doing there.
Interesting having Mike Kernahan just here there, and really what he's encouraging players is about, don't have to win, about let's get some consistency into our results. 8-4-2 type, last semi-final, and it's a good philosophy. Taking the emphasis, we've got to win a national title. We've got to do this. It's really like being there the last day, isn't it?
Yeah, if you're there the last day, you've given yourself half a chance, haven't you? Of a good result.
And also interesting to hear that, and I agree with him, despite the encouraging comments that I got rather from Will Bowles for the speed of the green in Birmingham, that's providing the state's fine.
Yeah, they're mentally prepared for the rain for sure.
Because whereas on these Manutota / Cochila greens, the rain doesn't have the same speed effect as what it does on the traditional grass greens. That makes it that much, it really slows it up, doesn't it, Alex?
It's a challenge. There's a when Sharon Sims and Joe Edwards won the Commonwealth Games gold medal in 2000, and whenever that was, Kev, early 2000s.
2002.
Thank you. 2002. It's actually on YouTube, that full game, that gold medal match game, and it was raining there. And if you watch that game, it's pretty slow.
That was at Manchester.
Yes. Yeah.
And that was the Commonwealth Games where Mike Kernahan won the last men's medal for New Zealand at the Commonwealth Games.
Yeah. When
he won the bronze medal in a very, very controversial match against Steve Glasson.
Doesn't matter how you get them, Kev.
It was
take it and run.
It was one for the ages. That's all I'll say. Right?
We'll leave that for another time. It might take longer than the final to go through that story. So it's been an interesting game so far, hasn't it?
It has, and as Mike spoke about when he was with me, there was one particular head there, and it was about Taylor's consistency of getting those three bowls, and the centre line scenario, and that's exactly what we've been seeing. And Taylor, and as I said, we're talking with Mike, I'm not promoting it because I'm not home greens at all, but we have, I think I've seen a significant improvement overall with the players in getting back to the centre line rather than more. It could be more an Auckland thing, allied to Starweed, where we possibly get into a steering mode of trying to get under the head to the bowls, and we all know how challenging that can be. So Claire Hendren now, another good bowl here.
Now, isn't she? She was a little bit scratchy earlier on in this final, and it's only very early on in the final already, but the first couple of ends she was a little bit scratchy by her standards, but that's two really, really good bowls there, and the pressure's right on Taylor. Is Claire Hendren indoor bowler as well? No, she hasn't played indoor before.
Oh, okay. I just wonder whether, because there is a number of them in Wellington.
Yes, a strong region in Wellington. Ray Martin used to play indoor bowls. He played into centre for his district there. Richard Corrie's a very good indoor bowler from that region. So Taylor Bruce changing hand, and now, as we were talking about before, Alex, all of a sudden
that first bowl pressure.
Yeah.
The head gets controlled differently, doesn't it?
So Taylor's played perfect line twice, but she's gone over and under, and she's steering down the barrel. She should be 3 down when she plays her third bowl.
Well, and of course, then it comes to the point for, from Taylor's point of view, what weight do I play with to either reduce or get an outcome? And you're right, is what you said, Alex. Is it going to make 3? Just needs to beat the front. Yes, it will.
Good shot.
Now, yes, far enough away not to create what I would call the running gap.
Yeah, we see Taylor. She's quite aggressive, isn't she? She's not frightened.
A lot more aggressive
than
and I'm picking that we're going to see that aggression now on the back end. Yeah, it's got that swing there, and to play through those bowls underneath to the jack looks to be tight and under it.
Yeah, so she's had a swing and a miss there, but that's why you do it with your third bowl, isn't it, Kev? You give yourself two chances.
You do, and the other thing that got in her favour here is having that front bowlers literally on the other side of the head, a wee bit protected from the front bowl. So even if contact is made, and the jack could stay there, Claire Hendra has got the benefit of having another bowl on the other side of the head. Claire Hendra here, if she draws between that back bowl of Taylor Bruce's and in between that line there, behind the head, it will count and really put it in.
It'll count and be a good bowl. So she'll sit with 4 bowls. She hasn't made the target any bigger. You don't want to make the target bigger. She hasn't made it any easier to hit. And then Taylor will think, I can't. It's almost impossible to draw a first shot there. She's had one bite of the cherry already. She may as well have another nibble at it.
Well, she showed her tenacity and nerve this morning in that semi-final.
Incredible.
Against Selena Goddard to draw that toucher and change her hand to the third bowl. Perhaps going deeper than what she wanted to here is Claire Hendra. Does give her the back bowl should the jack go straight back.
Yeah, if something crazy happens, that might be handy. She would have preferred that to be counting so that Taylor knew she was
I think she'd prefer it to be inside that. But Taylor Bruce was heavy with the third bowl, but stayed on that same hand, and to draw a toucher as she did, and the shot bowl from Selena Goddard was, say, 15 inches lower than
not
jack.
Even that.
So playing with more control weight, but going to be on the outside.
She'll be disappointed with those 2 bowls. She's played better than that for the rest of this competition, but one slightly narrow and one slightly wide, and we see that score levelled up now at 6-all. Race to 21, Kev, no time limit.
All locked up at 6-all, and of course earlier, as I said, we saw Claire Hendra defeat Mandy Boyd in one semi-final, and in a real tussle we saw Taylor Bruce defeat Selena Goddard by 21 shots to 20. And of course out in front of us as well, and we'll give you updates throughout, we have got the semi-finals of the men's as well, where we've got Kelvin Scott, who, if you remember, defeated Tony Grantham in the final of the singles a few days ago, and he's up against Gary Lawson, and Gary Lawson has got Tony Grantham leading for him, so Tony Grantham trying to play back in 2 finals as well. So that game is just underway, and the other semi-final, which sees Taylor Horn and Jessie Russell up against Andrew Kelly and Seamus Curtin of Wellington. Jessie Russell of Cambridge. They're both playing out of the Cambridge club, I believe, aren't they?
Yes, they are. Yeah, that's where it's entered from. But while we wait for the umpire, they're just calling to see if this is long enough. I did some research. I've got a definitive list of names of people in the Open Men's and Open Women's Championships who've won the singles and the pairs in the same year. Percy Jones was the first one to do it.
P.E.B. Jones, Otahu Railway.
1967, he did that. He won the singles and the pairs.
So he would have been playing with Gary Cotton's father.
Yes.
Out of Otahu Railway.
That makes sense.
In that time.
Phil Scogland did it as well. Phil Scogland Senior in 1970.
Thought he was in amongst it.
72 won the pairs with Vic Sellers in that year. In 1992, Peter Ballas, as we were told,
he's got that one.
Won the singles and pairs. And on the women's side of the game, Sisman Stanley in 1965 did the double.
Mariwa, yes.
I believe she holds the record for the most Open national titles for.
I would say so.
Just the most national. I think she's on 17. Millie Khan did it in 2000, so there was a big gap there in years. Joe Edwards did it in 2011, and Caitlin Inch did it in 2020. So if Kelvin Scott was to go through and win the pairs, he would be the 8th member of that club.
Very select club.
And it's been 20, 25, 26 years. No, how old am I? 28. It's been 29 years since someone started on the men's side.
Well, P.E.B. Jones of Otahu Railway, of course, played played in the Commonwealth Games here in 1974. Percy Jones he was a railway worker, and he used to judge the speed of the green by the time that it took to prepare a roll your own. He used to stand there, deliver the jack.
It's an interesting system.
Yeah, and Dave Baldwin from Paratutu was pretty similar as well. That was sort of their that was sort of their time measure. They had an idea of the speed of the green. But yeah, P.B. Jones was Otahu Railway. Could have been a jockey. Well, Vic Sellers, of course, who played with Phil Scogden, he was a jockey.
Yes.
And then his son Wayne went on to win a number of titles and play for Manawatu, etc., and bowls for a number of years. And P.B. Jones from Otahu Railway, he too could have easily been jockey. Very short in stature was Percy Jones. Everybody knew Percy. He was,
Wayne's still playing bowls, Kev. He was at the Taranaki Open last year.
Really?
I think we played him. in day 1 or 2 at Paratutu. He was part of a Manawatu team.
Yeah, very good player was Wayne Sellers.
So we see after Claire's changed the length of this head, so I was listening into your chat with Mike earlier, and I understand that the first time she pulled the mat up, she threw the jack in the ditch and
Correct.
was re-delivered, but she seems to have got the hang clear of throwing that length that she wants. The mat's almost right up, the jack's a few feet short of the 2 metre, and she's nailing that length, isn't she?
She is. Taylor Bruce trying to get contact to the jack. Is going to, will it be second shot?
Oh, great effort.
Great effort.
Bruce.
The marker, who is... We'll find out who the marker is in but a moment. We'll find out who the lovely lady is.
Being asked a very difficult question.
Just the one. It's the one at this point in time. Yeah, that turned out because then Claire, after that loss of the jack, that particular end, she got a bit all. She played the run shot with the last bowl. She sort of got a bit tangled up.
Yeah.
And
it'll be interesting because if Claire's playing these length heads well and Taylor's playing the longer ones well, that's when you get runs in a game, isn't it? Because
certainly is.
A player can put 4 or 5 or 6 ends in a row. The other player scores a point, throws it to their length, and then you see 4 or 5 or 6 ends in a row from them as well. It'll be interesting to see how this match pans out.
Well, it also certainly highlights your concentration's got to be right on because you're playing on a green. I'm going to say 17 seconds.
It's about 17 seconds.
About 17, I'd say. So if you're playing the shorter ends, there is at least, you could say, 5 feet to 6 feet of draw weight difference, and it doesn't take much to take it off or put too much on.
As we see the crowd there, no one clapped, so I'm not sure if the bowl was close.
No.
A little bit shy. So she's got no back bowls. And Taylor just ascertaining, because it's her head now, because that bowl's come to rest.
I don't know whether there's an attack shot down through there, whether that front bowl of Claire Hendricks, does it create a scenario whereby...
It'd be tempting.
It would be tempting with your own, if you're only in the back, and even if you don't get the ultimate result, you get some reduction.
Percentages, isn't it, Kev?
Yep.
There's a percentage. It's percentages here. You've got all the bowls at the back. If you're Taylor, there's 3 short bowls from Claire, although she might be holding that one. You may as well look for something more aggressive.
Well, I think it's good to see Taylor Bruce, what I would say, I've noticed this year, play what I call sensibly aggressive, and on the...
So she might just be going for a trail here.
Trying for that draw. The trail on the jack needs to hold up a bit longer, not going to, and might just tip a bowl in. I don't think it'll tip it far enough to do any damage. I thought she might have played with a wee bit more.
Yeah, she played that perfectly. It was a good call too. What's happened there?
Well, this thing's falling to pieces. There's the B. What is it? Is it?
Interesting. So just having a chat about who's holding the shot there. We'll see Claire get down and measure it.
The marker.
It must be unusual for Claire and Taylor to be playing a singles final against each other, Kevin, considering they have been a pairs team for a couple of years.
They have now. They have, certainly friends. And this measure's close.
It is close. So we see that crowd also filling up now. A lot of umbrellas. It's not raining. It's just very warm.
It is very warm out there.
A lot of sun out there. We might see an umpire.
I think we might see an umpire visit come. Taylor's holding on to the mat. And it is shot to Taylor Bruce.
1 to Taylor there. So 7-6 lead. Taylor Bruce on the race to 21 in this singles final, women's singles final. And a game that looks like it's been played in good spirit.
Also interesting what Mike was saying, for example, talking about Leif Selby. He certainly can see a role going forward.
For sure. If the resource is there to utilise, why would you not?
Absolutely.
Leif is a great resource and a very good appointment from Auckland Bowls in that space.
Certainly is. Very good appointment. As it is also, I must compliment Auckland Bowls on their appointment of Ricky Jane Swinell on the board now of Auckland Bowls. Well-known radio commentator, of course, and Sky Sport commentator. And it's great to have that perspective now on the board of Auckland Bowls, and Ricky will do have a wonderful input into the sport.
So we see Claire on the forehand. Following it down, it's interesting. So we've followed this rink on three occasions now. We've had a women's women's peer semi-final, and we watched that quarter-final of the men. It's the same rink, and it hasn't changed that much, a bit quicker now than it was, but a lot of players seem to persist on that clubhouse side. It's a straighter of the two hands.
It is. You've got to really get that. You've got to be really on that line, especially. I think here Taylor Bruce might be just right on that line that we're talking about, Alex, and it is. You'll see.
It seems to be a hand that players either nail or they
absolutely
don't. We saw Williams absolutely nail it on that side. He just went up and down on that side.
Certainly did.
Gave an exhibition of lead bowls, but if you miss your line by a foot, you can look like
it's a fine line.
Look like you haven't got as close as you thought you might.
And there's nothing wrong with the green at all. It's consistent, isn't it? So it's a consistent hand. It's now you would think that bowl's not
yeah.
going to come back.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with the weight, but it's just hasn't got that same finish of draw. Was more than likely, you could say, to give an idea, it's more than likely a bowl difference there in the line.
Yeah, absolutely. And the players will know that from
absolutely, they know that.
Often if you watch their foot positioning, it changes on a hand.
Taylor Bruce, as you'll see, has gone wider with this bowl and trying to get underneath the Claire Hendra bowl. Doesn't want to tip the back of the bowl in. Should be okay with that. That's in behind, right on the centre line on the 2 metre mark.
Good bowls, and Claire is committed to that forehand side now, so she'll just look to make a correction. Another one who had a little break away from the game, did Claire, but it's come back with a hiss and a roar in the last 5 or 6 years. Won a national intercentre as Claire McCall under her maiden name.
Correct.
In 2009 with Wellington, and played age group and development for New Zealand, I believe, around that time.
Yeah, I got called into the New Zealand side in Australia the other year, and the Trans-Tasman, or the New Zealand development side. Lisa Prideaux had to leave early, had a family bereavement, and Claire Hendra came into the side. But she's had 3 very good seasons as Claire Hendra, with the last time the Nationals were here in Christchurch. And Taylor Bruce now just trying to get that finish on the
perfect
bowl.
weight. It's good.
Perfect weight. Turns the bowl. That's well played from Taylor Bruce. Dead draw weight. There's Tamara, our producer, the boss. And, Tamara, I've said it before, and I'll keep saying it, the bowlers in New Zealand can be very fortunate and thankful for the work that Tamara, Colin and Alex do in putting all of this together. We went for years where the complaint always was we don't get an opportunity to sit at home and watch bowls. Well, that certainly can't be said now, Alex.
We're happy to be able to provide that service to bowlers, and it's good to see some centres and districts sort of hopping on that bandwagon. It's becoming easier to live stream things. Like our setup here you wouldn't be able to replicate it. We're really proud of our setup here, but
No.
that is possible with some Switcher Studio and some iPads to get a pretty watchable stream that anyone can do. So if anyone's looking for advice on how to live stream, Tamara is very
looking for the
approachable.
jack, looking for needs an inside slider, something going to
lucky
get
if
the
it holds.
outside, going to get the hole.
Yeah, be disappointed with that shot. Well, Claire Hendra just finding the gaps.
I wouldn't have.
It was
I'm sitting here, she's out there. Don't know if I'd have called that a percentage shot of.
No, her best result was jacking the ditch then, and she probably would have gone from 3 down to 2 down if
Or
she got
second
anything
shot.
else. Yeah. Maybe an indication that she wasn't feeling it at that length.
Correct. Wasn't feeling confident. You're absolutely right.
I think we'll see that being 3 there for Taylor Bruce, so she might be breaking into double figures here. Yeah, that's a 3.
When you consider, Alex, that it was only a few years ago that Tamara and myself started off with one phone and a microphone.
Yes,
sort of
yes,
thing.
I watched that coverage. I remember
at
watching that.
Tyree in Dunedin, and Bowls New Zealand have certainly now embarked upon technology and really state of the art, because that's just, it's, well, we know that it's compatible directly with Sky, where it's dumping, loading itself into now Sky Sport Next.
Yeah, we're pleased to be at that level where we can provide some really, really good quality coverage, and we have 8 cameras, and I would hate to think, it's pretty fancy stuff.
You only want to buy them once.
yeah, buy them once is good, but it's great because we want to be able to provide our community with good quality coverage of our sport.
Yeah, the Bolton's done a wonderful job. Thank you to our CEO, Mark Cameron, who has given us the budget to be able to provide this. And of course, next year, this year, I'm sorry, I presume we'll be back with a televised Bowls 3-5, which we have, of course, haven't been able to have because of the COVID thing. Is that still on the agenda for this year?
In a way, it's been rejigged a little bit. It's going to be a big finals weekend, the 3-5, and
Great idea.
there may or may not be something else in the woodwork for the television stakes that I'm not at liberty to talk about at the moment, Kev, so we'll call that something exciting to look forward to in the future. But it's going to be a really big weekend at Nainai, the Bowls 3-5, and every centre winner is going to, so you win your Bowls 3-5 at your centre level.
Yes.
We'll take you to Nainai to play in the national final, and the teams that were unable to compete in the television final this year will get a free entry into that as well, and they'll be there participating.
Right.
It's going to go for 2 or 3 days. We'll endeavour to have it televised. If it's not televised, it might be packaged up and sort of trunk down, but we want it to be
I'm available.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
good. We'll keep that in mind. But we want it to be a really good carnival atmosphere at that Nainai thing. We want.
Boy, that sounds I'm on the short list of the exit clause there. By goodness.
It'll be good. It'll be good. So we're looking forward to that, and just keep your eyes peeled for something coming up or something else coming up on the television, because we've for sure got that in mind.
So a bit of room left on this head. 10-6 now. Taylor Bruce up against Claire Hendra in the race 2:21. And this would be what I'm not going to call it loose. That's unfair to the players, but this head's created the most room so far. It's
one of those ends where Taylor probably took, I've got a 3, that's good, and Claire probably thought, I could have played that end a bit better, and you start focusing on what's happened and maybe forget a little bit about putting the ball in your hand close to the jack. So just that little bit looser, and look at that crowd gathering now, a bit overcast, so that's an improvement on what it was half an hour ago.
It was very warm outside, Alex. As we ventured out there before, it was very, very warm. So under the head will Taylor Bruce be, but we'll no doubt this should finish for shot. Doesn't
Look
run
at that,
too
turning,
far.
keep turning, yeah.
Finishes jack level.
Beautiful weight there. Plenty of room. Claire would back herself to draw the shot. We've seen in the last 10 minutes Claire draw bowls within inches of the jack, so she'd back herself to draw close here. As the marker just figures out what's what.
So Claire Hendra with a good few feet here to draw the shot.
Some people getting set up over and going past the camera, getting set up nice and comfy. I recall last year at Alexandria there was a man in a ute who parked outside and had himself elevated.
Well, of course, we had the COVID change.
Yes.
And they created a Scotsman's grandstand literally out behind the fence at Alexandra,
Yeah.
where they were able to watch. So that'll be the shot. I think that last bowler, Claire Hendras, that went in. Taylor Bruce scoring a 3 on the last end, scored a 3 and a 1 to jump out now to a 10-6.
And yeah, that marker there, Margaret Eames is the marker, Kevin. She's, her and Tony Eames are well-known bowlers in the coaching fraternity, the bowlers coaching fraternity.
All right, and Taylor Bruce just slipped through this.
A loose head and a chance here for Claire Hendra.
Bit of breeze has
make
got
a
up
number.
just looking at those trees out there now, Alex, which wasn't there before. But it's not gusting. It's just
Yeah, it's probably the green's probably changed a little bit. The players, it's 10-6 in the game. You can just you don't think you've lost concentration, but you can just go in the boil for an end or so, and we'll see them bounce back. And I think I would be not surprised at all if the next end was tight, if all the bowls were inside.
well, of course, with this end as well. It's one of the longest ends that we've seen. There's a view of that crowd around the greens.
This would be a loose 3 to get, wouldn't it?
It would be a loose 3 to get.
What a way to make it back.
It'll have to stop. Sits inside the bowl. Well, it's on a direct line, literally, to where that jack is. There's one anyway, the front one.
We've seen heads where they've had all 8 bowls within the closest one of that there. 2 conceded by Taylor. They'll just have a look around the head and see what they think. I always struggle to see who's on the shot when it's this big, the bigger distance.
Well, I think as well that Taylor would be quite relieved to get out with a 2 down, really, the way that head shaped up, because that could have easily been one of those 3 or 4 scattergun ends.
I see Claire hasn't pulled the mat up this time as much as she was when she dominated that sort of 3 ends in a row. And they're just seeing if the jack is out of play.
Well, it's already gone out once before.
Out the side.
Earlier on.
Right.
And you know only too well, Alex, especially in singles, and jack's been lost again twice.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And you know so well that finding in singles to find a consistent length that you're happy with, forget about the opposition, the length that you're happy with is so important. And Claire's been a bit backwards and forwards in that.
For her weight a little bit. And that jack is it's not underthrown, but it's a short jack. It might have been where Claire was trying to throw.
Could well be. And we will give you updates of those semi-finals of the men's pairs. Kelvin Scott and Barry Williams up against Gary Lawson and Tony Grantham. The other semi-finals is Taylor Horn and Jesse Russell up against Andrew Kelly and Seamus Curtin. Those semi-finals are underway, and we'll give you updates of those. And of course, we'll be bringing you the live coverage of that, the final event here at the Summerset National Bowls Championships at Burnside in Christchurch, and that will bring the 9 days to a close.
It will, and it will be a good way to finish. It's been a great finals day so far, Kev. A good way to sort of finish up the Summerset Nationals here in Christchurch. Nice weather, good crowds, good bowls. Watermelon soon. What more could you ask for?
Well, Mike Kernan and I were talking about this highlights about the quality of the green is and the ability of the players. And I think I've seen a significant improvement in what I'd say the players who have been there at the money end of the event. Their ownership of the centre line has been to me it's a positive.
It's been good to see, and there's probably a group of 50 or 60 people in New Zealand now who you could look at during the Nationals and think you could go through and win this event.
Absolutely, and it's I just say, and I always say it's a lesson to what I'd say some of our players in Auckland that. You never draw many shots inside the jack. You draw them on that line to the jack.
And this is demonstrating that.
That's demonstrating that.
These 4 ends, 4 bowls, sorry.
We do, and it's always been said in Auckland, Alex, because of the starweed used as I'm not going to say an excuse, but always been a comment that the starweed greens tend to develop that sort of,
Starweight's
play.
Starweight's an interesting beast.
And I agree it is a different, but now of course we've seen more greens as well with a Starweed Manutato mix as well, aren't we?
That's becoming more common in Auckland. One of the things Brett O'Reilly mentioned to me when I first moved to Auckland and was playing bowls, and he made a good point. He was telling me on a Starweed green, usually you can find 2 lines on it.
Yes.
You can go around, or you can sort of take a tighter line and get held up by all the bumps. And
yes,
that stuck with me, and it's a good bit of advice for anyone playing on a true Starweed green, or like a one that's full Starweed.
Bowl here from Taylor Bruce, just sitting, saw the bowl move out of the head, and we'll have a look with that camera angle in about a moment. Taylor Bruce coming down to have a look at the head.
So we see, this is a sort of slightly tighter head than the one we saw before. Still bowls that have found gaps. It'll be interesting to see what hand Claire Hendra opts to play here.
I would still favour the slightly jack-low bowl of Claire Hendra's as shot.
Yes, she's holding 1.
But I'm sure, though, that Claire Hendra especially would like to string together 2 or 3 ends of what I call consistency on one hand.
Yes.
To get those bowls around the head. And Taylor has, we saw it this morning, of course. She's one of those players who's got a magnificent delivery.
She's got the weight, it's half a chance.
The weight to get all the way, has it? Yes, it will.
Good shot.
Good shot, right in the centre line too.
It's actually better that it's finished a few inches away from the jack rather than touching it.
Absolutely it is.
So it's worked out well for Claire. A very good bowl. And because you can see there, it's just that little bit away from the jack. It's not going to go. The jack's not going to pop back easy. It's easy if it's a toucher, because Taylor could just be arriving and there's going to be movement. But she could get unlucky here if she tries to play for movement.
And we were talking the other day about, like Mike Galloway, Taylor Bruce. They have deliveries that are multi-surface.
Well, this is a perfect delivery.
And multi-speed. Yeah. It doesn't matter. It's.
And when they play a drive shot, it's just that delivery, but quicker, isn't it?
Absolutely. And Mike Galloway, it's just the finish at the arm, at the finish, just slightly. Taylor Bruce now down on the head. Now, you and I both know here, Alex, on this hand, whether that's going to come back all the way. It's on a good line.
She's got perfect weight at will.
And just got a feather off that outside bowl. And we'll see whether it's still 2.
Yeah, no, a perfect delivery makes the whole range of shots easier in bowls. I remember Kerry Chapman saying the way he played his drives, it was just his delivery but faster.
Well, 3 at once.
Quicker, play it exactly the same, and it's just that groove, that memory thing. You don't have to have a different delivery for a drive, a different delivery for a draw. Don't have to back yourself to get your timing right.
Well, Kerry Chapman is one of those guys who, when he did was playing for North Auckland, of course, and then playing for New Zealand. Kerry Chapman had a copybook delivery.
I've got updates, Kev, in the men's semi-finals. So in the Gary Lawson-Kelvin Scott game, Gary Lawson leads 11-6 after 8 ends. That's 11-6 to Gary Lawson and Tony Grantham over Kelvin Scott and Barry Williams after 8. And in the other match, Taylor leads 8-4 over Andrew Kelly after 7 ends. So Taylor Horn and Jesse Russell up 8-4 over Andrew Kelly and Seamus Curtin after 7 ends there. So
early stages.
Yeah, both of those. 4 or 5 point difference after 7 or 8 ends. Plenty of time to go in those semi-finals.
So, of course, Gary Lawson in pursuit of title number
16. But it would be his 15th Open Nationals title, because one of his Gold Star titles was from the time when we counted the club championships.
And there was always debate about.
So Gary will say it's his 15th.
Yes, he will. Yes, there's always been that debate. Yes, it's but a prolific national title holder.
And won his first title in 1989 in the singles. So that's a long period to be winning national titles for. Won the indoor singles that year as well, Kev. Indoor and outdoor in the same year.
Both that year.
The only other person to do that was Ham Purritt or whatever his name is.
From Tuakau. Yes.
Indoor and outdoor singles in the same year. It's not a bad effort.
Yeah, Ham Purritt from Tuakau.
So we're seeing Claire put 2 close again. 11-10 up on the scoreboard now.
So here is Taylor Bruce On the backhand, Claire Hendra holding shot on that jack level line.
Willing it to
Just
hold.
going to go by.
I think the green must be speeding up a little bit, or something's changed because that hand's not holding quite as much as it was previously.
It's interesting you talk about Ham Purritt. There's a bowler in Taranaki just recently passed away. A chap named Norm French. He was 96 years of age when he passed away. And Grant Hassel wrote this article. Now, I remember Norm when he played at what was the old Fitzroy Club, very short bowl there from Claire Hendra. But it was interesting that Norm French started his bowling career in Ohura, where the coal mines were in the back of the King Country between Stratford and Tamaranui. And there's no bowling club now, but when Norm French played there, 150 members.
Yeah,
so
that's not a bad effort, is it?
Yeah, there's 150 members at Ohura. There's Taylor Bruce here, equal to the occasion, gets inside, sits on the big ball. I'd say that, well, definitely, Claire Hendra definitely holding one.
Looks like second shot there, so good bowl. She was close to getting very unlucky and finding that gap entirely with that bowl, but second shot, that's pretty good. There's no player seems to really be dominating this final, is there, Kev?
No, there's not.
Reflected by the score.
It's an end-by-end scenario, and you got 11-10. Claire Hendra holding the shot. And thank you, Taylor, and our marker, Margaret Eames. They're on the right chalk lines there.
They
Alex.
are, yes, yeah. We were quite pleased with ourselves when we thought of that. We thought if we put chalk on the ground and say to the players, stand there,
very good idea.
In the way of the camera, it might be helpful because it's easy to get too invested in a game of bowls. Well, you can't get too invested, but it's easy to get invested as a player in a game of bowls, and you stand in front of the camera, and then it's all.
Good bowl coming here from Claire Hendra. Is going to run all the way down. Going to sit outside her own. Won't quite come back far enough, I don't think. Finishes jack level. Taylor Bruce will have a look to see whether it is 1, 2, or 3. Definitely 1. I think that last bowl, Alex, it's jack level, but I don't think it's.
I don't think it's counting that last one.
No, I don't think it's in the count.
So we'll see what's happening. One and a half.
One and a half. One on the measure.
That was good.
Very well done by Margaret Eames. That was very helpful. Thank you.
Just as I was thinking, it'd be great if the marker would indicate something here. Boom, done. We haven't quite got to the point where we have the walkie-talkie up yet, Kev, so that we have to rely on telepathy.
Yeah, well, that's good and bad. So Taylor Bruce down on the head, trailing 11-10 in this New Zealand final.
She wants it to break.
In the race to 21. Looked on the wide side, looked wide all the way, really, didn't it? And
in her head she must have been looking to breach through those two pink bowls.
Obviously with weight, as you say, Alex, as well, you just need to have that line.
Yeah, you're still finding out, tracking out that little bit. So it looks like it's going to be 1.5. Well,
1.5.
1 or 2 to Claire Hendra here, and she'll just eke that lead in front that little bit more to that 12 or 13 mark.
Well, so has Taylor Bruce conceded that second, or have they acknowledged that?
I don't think it's in the count. I think they just moved it. We'll see. And of course, after my little stint in the commentary, Kev, we're going to get Dale Rayner in.
Dale Rayner, it is 2. I have to find Dale Rayner. She's sitting out in front here.
We'll send someone.
In my last stock take of her. Now, interesting little point here in the match, Alex, is we saw Taylor dominate one length early on and score a 3.
Yes.
We've now seen Claire get hold of the mat, a 2, a 3, and a 2.
Yeah, it's
7 shots.
It is interesting,
and that's when she lost the jack.
Yes. Yeah.
So on that 7th end, on that 8th end, when Taylor Bruce scored a 3, that's when the jack was lost. Since then,
Claire's just been setting the length.
So
and again,
you can see with the Summerset signs,
ball's gone.
There is a bit of breeze there, but I don't think it's a breeze that you need to get too hung up about concerning yourself about it, though, is it, Alex?
No, it will make a minor impact on the bowls. But even when it's a little bit windy, there's no point in worrying about the wind, is there? If you just pick a line and pray that you don't get
have confidence in your line,
get done. Otherwise, you run the risk of double bluffing yourself, and that's never a fun time. So Taylor here on the forehand. We've seen Claire play one already on the forehand with perfect weight, but narrow. Taylor on the forehand with better green, but a little bit heavy, but drawing the shot there, I think. So something to beat for Claire. Just be looking to make her correction. It's been a long week for the players and the administrators here at the Summerset Nationals, but the players aren't showing any signs of being jaded. They're out there to play in that national final and to pick up that title.
Absolutely.
That Summerset, or not the Summerset, the national title hat that you get, and the medal that goes with it.
Still a fight out on that hand there.
Yeah, so we see...
and I'm going to ask you, and I mentioned this the other day, at what point of the game do you say...
Yeah, well, if we look at the two bowls are clear, the one on the right of our screen and the one to the left of our screen are maybe 2 or 3 metres apart. The track that she took halfway up was a foot or 2 feet apart.
Correct.
So that shows you the difference. By the time the bowls get to the end of the track, it shows you how much of a different track
you
you
can see
take.
this bowl of Taylor's. You can see how wide out it is now on the camera and how far is it going to come back.
Yeah. The challenge for the players is they played really well on that hand early on. So
Yeah.
Claire in her head, I mean, I sat down to do the commentary.
Give
and
it away.
She had 2 bowls within 2 inches playing that forehand side, so you can sometimes get a bit caught up thinking about a good bowl you did play.
But sometimes in a match, something can just, you know, a green can just change slightly, a bit of wind, whatever, I don't know. And you just better to say. I remember the late Bob McDonald always said, give me, play 4 bowls, and if you can see, there we go.
Great
Exactly
bowl
just what
there
we
from
spoke
Claire
about.
Hindra. Brave enough to change your way and got rewarded for it.
The late Bob McDonald always said he reckoned 4 bowls was enough to work out whether it's going to work for you or not.
That's a fair point, I think.
And now, Taylor Bruce, we just got to... I wonder if does Claire know that chalk mark is there?
I think she knows it's there, but she's happy with her bowl. So we'll get another camera angle. We can see. There we go.
Great bowl here from Taylor Bruce. Got a touch on that jack.
They both switched.
Sit in behind. Both changed hands.
That's enough there. I think we'll see the rest of the bowls played on that side. Usually once one player changes, the other one follows, and we'll see the rest of the bowls played on that side away from the club.
We predicted it, Alex, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, it just... You can keep trying to fight something for so long, can't you? And when you... I think especially when you're a precise draw player and you can't get that consistency.
Yeah, it's about you have to be brave and change sometimes, and people can be reticent to switch if they've played well earlier on in the game on that hand. You think, well, I've put 2 bowls close, why can't I do it again? But if you're consistently missing, there's no point in persisting in something like that, is there?
But we are going to see Claire Hindra, I think, go back to her only because of where the Taylor Bruce bowl has been forced to, and we'll be endeavouring to just bring that line in fractionally and try and sit to the Taylor Bruce bowl.
No, she's not narrow, Kev.
No, we can...
Not tight.
No, you can, you know, exactly, literally, fairly quickly out of the hand, don't you?
Yeah, that was never coming back, but maybe she was just looking to go past the head.
Well, that's possible if it's... because, in fairness, Taylor Bruce, I don't think she would attack it because there's another bowl of Claire Hindra's out the side. But, so if she was to attack it...
Depends on the weight. She could get a 2 or a 3.
Absolutely.
She plays it with perfect weight. Her bowl only has to hang around within a metre, and you're counting for 3rd shot then. So she can still be quite aggressive and get a 3 out of this.
Oh, I think she's...
Is she?
I got an idea that she's looking with some aggression here, and
yep,
there she is.
This is close if it starts breaking. This is close, Kev. Here we go. As we see it's beautiful weight.
It's a well-controlled bowl here, beautiful and that weight. Was certainly the shot to play from Taylor Bruce, and turned it into 3.
Good shot. Jack just squeezed out a bit to our right. Oh, what's happened? It deserved to be 3. It deserved to be 3.
The thing, out of the hand, you could see that really nice weight, that controlled weight that was played. And
that perfect weight we were speaking about. And, the Jack did squeeze a bit out to the left as we see it. So it might be that short bowl of Claire's is cutting out 1 or 2 of Taylor's, but she didn't do much wrong there.
Oh, it looked good all the way. They've taken 1 out, though. That one's been conceded.
So we see the measure come out, that box measure. Bit of teamwork there.
So I think they've got to find firstly which is the closest of the 2 Claire Hindra bowls.
Measure the other 2.
And then come back around to the Taylor Bruce bowls. They'll work out which is the closest one. and it was that jack level one, and that tends to me to think that both will count. It was definitely 2 at this point.
Yeah, they're talking about it being close for that third shot.
Here comes the umpire.
Be itching to have a measure with that umpire. And also I must compliment Erin Nurka from Bowls New Zealand on designing the umpire's shirts.
They look good, the new attire, don't they?
Been out and about the Summerset Nationals, you'll notice they've got new shirts with that purple and the umpire on the back. They're a light, breathable material.
Well, mind you, Alex, that was a very positive move because the last...
It was time for an upgrade.
It was time for an upgrade. As a fashion critic, that's a very, very good way of describing it, Alex.
Time for an upgrade, and every umpire in New Zealand in time will be updated to those shirts. Thanks to Summerset.
Put the junk back where it was.
Hello.
I trust you. Oh, listen to us. Okay.
3.
3 it was.
You're happy?
Oh. Okay, so there we saw the spirit in which this game's been played.
It's good there.
Claire moved the jack on the measure. Taylor didn't see it. But Claire said, look, I moved the jack, you can have 3 points. And that's great sportsmanship.
And I think it was close to, it would get, I think they might have called the umpire. I don't know, but there was definitely 2 anyway. And
yeah.
So we see all 13 all now. 13 all. It's good, very good singles final here, isn't it, Kev?
Certainly is. And it was great, as you rightly said, Alex, the spirit of the game from both players then. And it was also good this afternoon to get an insight from Mike Kernahan, the high performance manager. Is that the title? High performance manager?
He's our head coach.
Head coach? Is that what we call it? Right.
Mike. Well, he's doing a great job, and they're working really well on the culture of the Blackjacks and the culture of that team. And I think I'm pretty positive. I think we've given the task of coming home with a good medal haul from the Commonwealth Games in the best hands we possibly could have.
Oh, no question about that.
And see a loose start. Last time I think they came in this direction, it was a loose end as well, Kev.
And one of the great, I'd say Mike, whether it be, but especially internationally, one of the most competitive players and that you want to play with or against, and his game management that Mike has always had has always made Mike.
Yeah, well, what we've got in a head coach as Mike is a player that everyone who plays bowls in New Zealand respects Mike Kernahan as a bowler. He's been there and done that. He's the last man to have won a Commonwealth Games medal. Who better to help us get another
world champion?
Yeah, I think it's a good appointment from a good appointment. I think it is for Mike Kernahan, and I'm confident that team will go over to the Northern Hemisphere, up to the Northern Hemisphere as best prepared as we could possibly get them.
Well, of course, the other thing going to the Commonwealth Games this particular year, really, Alex, there's a lot of unknowns because a number of the countries will be coming to the Commonwealth Games with minimal preparation.
Yes, yeah.
And that makes a difference as well.
It's going to be exciting and stressful all at the same time, I think, to watch that Commonwealth Games happen.
Yeah. So, Dale Rayner.
Yes, I'll bid you adieu, Kev. I'll go cut up the watermelon because it is a bit warm. Thank you very much for having me, and I'll let you introduce the next commentator.
Great to have you here, Alex. Always good to have you alongside. So I'm about to be joined by Dale Rayner, who's a member of the Blackjack High Performance Squad. New Zealand player, of course, in Delhi, 2010. And as Alex said, one of the leading indoor bowlers as well in New Zealand over many years. So welcome, Dale. Great to have you here.
Yeah, hi. Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
So you've just come from outside. Is the wind got up a wee bit out there?
Yeah, it has got up a tad in the middle there.
And yeah, because we just saw all of a sudden the heads go from right on top of the jack to
A little bit further apart.
Yeah,
but
widening up a fraction.
Yeah.
And Claire Hendren, she still plays out of the Silver String Club, is it in Wellington?
Yeah, she does. Yep, she's been there for a while now. Top little bowler is Claire, isn't she?
Yeah, she is looking for the jack or a sit here and going to still won't get shot, but certainly second shot. And that semi-final this morning, Selena Goddard and Taylor Bruce, by goodness, that was an outstanding last end, wasn't it?
Oh, gosh, wasn't it just? I wouldn't have wanted to be Taylor playing that last bowl. She played it superbly, though.
Absolutely outstanding bowl, wasn't it? And she changed her hand with a third bowl and was fractionally heavy, then came back, adjusted, and drew a toucher, and so...
Yeah, I saw her in the bathrooms, and I said, whoa. She's like... Made that hard for myself, didn't I?
Sure did. And because you had a great game against Claire Hendra and Taylor Bruce in the pairs, 13-12, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, we did. It was a fantastic game out at Sumner. We led most of it, and we tied up on the last, second to last end, 12 all. Yeah, came down to the wire, that one.
And lovely spot out there at Sumner, isn't it? Then?
Beautiful club, beautiful
Isn't it?
club rooms, beautiful spot out there, that's for sure. Lovely, lovely people.
That new club rooms that they've built there is Taylor Bruce now going to... he might have made, well, at least it would be still two, I think. I think the front one will come into the account, would you? I think two.
It looks like two to me.
Two.
She's just lengthened the jack a bit, hasn't she? Now?
Yeah, well, Alex and I were talking about that before, about they'd been sort of in and out of their length of the jack. Wasn't not 100% sure of their length, and because Claire's lost the jack twice as well, which that can be telling as well.
Yeah, especially trying to keep the shorter length.
So Claire,
What she'll do here, do you think she'll just come down?
I think she'll endeavour to
the
try and
breaks.
come down through there. Alex and I have been talking about it. I don't know whether you can notice it from outside, but the hand that she's about to play is a wee bit more challenging than the other. Doesn't seem to have the same amount of just drag towards the jack.
Yeah.
Just if you get out a wee bit, and if you've got a wee bit of weight, it will it is two in a measure from Margaret Eames, who you'd know through the indoor world, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and she's from Nelson, isn't she?
Not sure.
Oh, yeah, I've seen her at Nelson a few times, I'm pretty sure. And I've gone down for Stoke singles.
Well, you do travel around a lot playing bowls, darling.
Yeah. Indoor, outdoor, I'm everywhere.
It's interesting. Not going to play the hand that we thought.
No, she's
No,
not.
playing on the forehand, trying to...
Oh, she's playing narrow
Oh, I don't know
line.
what this shot really is. It's a bit of a...
Good speed, probably.
Good speed, but what I'd say, Dale, without trying to be critical, wasn't only a low percentage return shot, possibly a better with weight.
Yeah, especially if that one's counting, that shorter one.
More of the measures.
Because they did say two in a measure. The marker did say so. And I presume you'll be in Taranaki for the fours.
The national force,
Yes.
not the Taranaki women's
Yeah,
force,
no,
but the
yeah,
national force.
national
Yeah,
force.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely going up there. Got the same team as last year.
Who was that?
That was
You can't remember.
okay. Reen Bellis now.
Yeah.
Linda
Three.
Ralph and Karen Guilford.
Right.
We did okay.
Three it
We
was.
got to the semis last year, so we thought we'd have another go.
Now, see, what we're sort of seeing here in this match so far is these chunks. That Taylor scored a 3, and this is where the jack got lost before. Taylor scored a 3.
Right. Yep.
Claire came back at 2, a 3 and a 2, and then Claire gets the front 13-10, then 2 3s. And that's where I just thought that other hand, Dale, might have been just a better percentage shot.
Yeah, no, Claire's pretty good usually at taking the hand that will give her the best result or opportunity to cut things down. I'm surprised she's dropped 4 3s.
Perhaps, it's just, it's because she's a very, very consistent player, isn't she?
Yeah, most definitely. She just won our Wellington centre singles.
So here we go in the pairs. I can tell you now that it is Taylor Horn leading Andrew Kelly in one semi-final. It's 10 ends gone, and it's all locked up 7 apiece, so that's anybody's. And the Kelvin Scott Gary Lawson game, it's 12 ends gone, and Gary Lawson now leading 13-10, so that's also tightened up. So 13-10 to Gary Lawson over Kelvin Scott after 12 of the 18 ends. And Taylor Horn with Jesse Russell leading Andrew Kelly, sorry. Andrew Curtin was there in the week. Andrew Kelly and Seamus Curtin all 7-all. So anyone's games in those 2 men's semi-finals, and we'll be bringing you those the men's final immediately after this. And I'll have Brett O'Reilly with me. Margaret Eames is from Wakefield in Nelson. We've been getting lots of. Have you got one of these? You got one of these Remarkables?
No, I haven't got one of those. It's pretty flash.
Oh, it's fantastic. Just write it all down, then it all just rubs itself out.
Yep.
And, yeah, it's very good. So Taylor Bruce holding the shot and leading 16-13. Well, that's at this stage of the game, that's sort of a bit of a mini break, isn't it?
It is a mini break. I mean, she was only 2 ends ago 13-10 down.
Correct. It's a big turnaround, isn't it?
It is.
And yeah, holding the shot, and we all know once you get to 17 what can happen.
Exactly.
Taylor Bruce.
Must be hard playing against your teammate, though, right?
Oh, yeah, it must be. And we were trying. Oh, well, we'll find out later on. But I'm pretty. Another good bowl here from Taylor Bruce. Gets past her own. Will do.
Yeah, she's still down again.
Yeah.
Very good.
I think this is her 3rd national singles final. Is that right? I think so.
Yeah, I remember I played her
one
one time in Christchurch, Canterbury in the semis, and she beat me there, and then she lost to Kelsey Cottrell.
Correct, absolutely, that's correct. On the drive is Hendra, and this is becoming now.
Oh, crikey, this is pretty crucial, her next bowl, isn't it?
This is becoming now really important. He lost to Kelsey Cottrell, and I think the other one was in Dunedin and lost to Joe Edwards.
Right, yeah.
As a pretty young player. And there may have been another one, I'm not sure, but those 2 that you rightly say, yeah, I remember those 2. And of course, Kelsey Cottrell was the influence of Taylor Bruce taking up bowls.
Oh, right. Oh, crikey, so she was up against her,
Correct.
her idol.
Taylor turned up here as a youngster. Well, Kelsey Cottrell's still really a relative youngster too, really. Taylor turned up here with an appearance at 2008 World Bowls. And Kelsey was playing for Australia, and Taylor spent watching Kelsey Cottrell and said, "Look at this, gets put not
that's
quite."
Great. Oh, maybe no, not quite.
So danger here, and now what do?
You
She
can't
drives
really
and takes her own
no,
ball
don't
out.
do that, do you? No, I think
4
she'll just
down.
play nice weight, try and sit the bowl.
Yeah, I think it's one of those cases. Hit it with your 3rd, or if you don't, you're in. So this could be a big turning point of the match. Ooh, got away
she's
the
going for
bounce.
it.
She's going for it. She's going to get the front.
Close.
Going to get
She's
the front.
Oh.
3 down still.
Yeah, 3 down now, definitely. That was a risky shot.
It was a very risky shot. And didn't get it away well either.
No, it had a few little bounces, but wasn't too far off the target, but was very risky.
But there, 3-3-3.
Yeah. She'll be looking at that later on and thinking, crikey, if I'd just maybe been able to cut a couple of those threes down.
Well, it might
That's
only
not
be 2.
over
I'm sure it's 3. Out comes the measure. So it was Kelsey Cottrell that Taylor said, right, I want to emulate Kelsey Cottrell, and of course then went on to play against Kelsey Cottrell internationally as well. And I think even though that you're in that squad as we spoke about, Taylor Bruce has certainly put a hand up this week, hasn't she?
Oh, most definitely. Both of them, Claire and Taylor.
Mike Kernan gave nothing away, by the way.
Oh, didn't he?
Just so that you know that.
Yeah, hopefully I'll catch up with Taylor during the week and staying down for Burnside Piers.
Oh, you're staying on down
yeah,
to...
We'll try and get to a croquet lawn and have a bit of a practice together. That'll be good.
So who are you playing with in the Burnside Piers?
Karen Guilford.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Tamara and I are here for...
Oh, you're back down again?
No, I'm staying.
You're staying.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're staying as well.
in my mature years, you don't sort of go backwards and forwards.
Well, it's good when you can work remotely
It is.
from
It's
different
very
parts of the country.
yeah.
So
It's very handy. There's been a lot of that over the
Yeah.
last couple of years.
yeah,
and
pretty used to it now.
yeah, and that's absolutely fine. And you're playing the mixed pairs at Taranaki
Yes.
with
Seamus Curtin this year.
great. Who were you with last year? And
Gary Lawson.
oh, that's right, you were too.
Yeah, he's not playing in the mixed pairs as far as I know this year. That's what he said to me anyway. So I assume he's not. He's going to the Taranaki Fours.
He is going to Taranaki Fours. Andy Curtin, I don't know who else is on the side. Again, Tamara and I will be at Taranaki.
Awesome.
We literally go from Burnside to Taranaki.
Yep. It starts the day after, doesn't it? Is
Yeah.
it?
Oh, well, it's for me. It's going home for a bit of a family reunion as well. So it's always good to get back.
Yeah.
So they've been three big ends, really, haven't they, Dale? And the pressure's now really on Claire to get a game together, isn't it?
Yeah, very quickly she needs
Very
to.
quickly, because it could disappear real quick, can't it?
Yeah.
Oh, she's on a good line here, and this will
Taylor's
come
throwing
back.
the jack a bit shorter.
And it is shorter, and it's a good bowl from Claire Hendra.
Yeah.
Well, we saw Selena Goddard this morning come back as well, didn't she? She was
Was she 2014 down?
some number
like
like
that?
2013, 2014, something like that. And that was a fantastic bowl, though, that Taylor played after Selena Goddard had played that what was the last head.
Yeah.
Had
was
played it
holding
very,
four.
very well and played it well enough to win.
Yep. I think she played some excellent bowls, Selena, to catch back up in that game. So Taylor was, playing pretty well, and jacking the ditch, and Selena's just drawing to the ditch, and it was exceptional bowls. She did.
Well,
It was a great
Taylor's
game.
now adopted some aggression in the game as well, which wasn't always there.
Yeah, you've still got one.
And Claire Hendra holding one. You heard the Mark Redeems from Wakefield just updating us on that. And of course, we'll be bringing you that men's pairs final again as well. I have Brett O'Reilly with me. And just to go back to that again, it's Gary Lawson leading Kelvin Scott 13-10 after 12 ends. And Taylor Horn and Andrew Kelly all locked up 7-all after 10 of the 18 ends.
It's a pretty low scoring game, isn't it? 7-all.
Certainly is. A few singles in that, isn't there?
Yeah.
So Taylor Bruce trying to get inside what is her bowl, which is second shot to get to the shot bowl. Just looks as though it's just going to hang outside the bowl. Good weight, though, to get the shot to move things around. Now, I was remarking earlier on, Dale, I know the greens in Christchurch are always pretty good, but this year they just, and with COVID it's been challenging, but the greens, and it's great to see, like with the Manutato greens, etc., that the surface goes right to the ditch board. There's no well, I've been to 4 lots of greens now, and that's very impressive, and they all seem to have a lot of they all seem pretty good.
Yeah, I've played. I haven't had a game at Burnside, unfortunately, but was at Rangiora. That was really awesome. I loved it out there. Morrison Ave. That was fast. That was a bit different, and because I'd been at Fendleton the day before, which was a little bit slower.
So Fendleton traditionally is a slower.
Right.
Yeah, it's. But the greens overall are good, aren't they?
Oh yeah.
And the greens in Wellington at present, because they've been tough for the greenkeepers, isn't it?
No, they're going good. Johnsonville's going really well.
Good.
Haven't played at too many. Silverstream played out there, but that's not going too bad. Have you heard about the deer from the bush that comes down onto the green?
I saw a photo.
Yeah.
Is it?
I think the deer isn't around anymore.
So the wildlife
won't be
department.
Won't be damaging the green anymore.
Right, yeah. No, I had heard about the deer coming down from the hills, because for those who don't know, there's a good bowl here from Taylor Bruce, will finish just past the jack.
Great line.
Great line. Yes, for those who don't know, it's sort of like in a hillside park area, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a lovely setting.
There's a lovely setting at Silverstream. Is Mandy Board, is she playing bowls in Wellington, or where is she?
She's playing with the Stokes Valley Club.
Right.
She played interclub
All
for
right.
them.
So she'll be eligible for Wellington if
Yeah, I think she's playing for Canterbury.
oh,
I think.
yeah. My goodness, these things.
It's hard to keep up with it all.
It is hard to keep up with because it's it changes continuously, doesn't it? But that's fine. So a jack trail here for Claire Hendra would be very, very advantageous. And this isn't far away as it gets down towards the jack.
To hold a fraction.
Oh,
longer.
that was a valiant attempt. Still may have made two of it. Look at that second one.
No,
One.
not quite. Gosh, you've got the jack there.
Oh,
nearly
it
four
was
shots.
close, wasn't it? It just, it was just a couple of cigarette papers away from getting that touch, which would have created a 4, which is what it would do. That would certainly lifted her encouragement. 18-14 in the race to 21.
Yeah, well, she's off that 13 now.
Off
People
that
get
13.
stuck on that 13.
They do.
don't
It's,
they?
it's an old woman's tale, but you're quite right. That Dale, it's sort of, they do get tangled up on it. And notice that that Claire now's brought the mat up quite a way. In fact, she brought the mat up.
Yeah, that's what she did earlier on as well, and she was nutting it. So, see what happens here.
Yeah, well, it's sort of, it's far from over, but it's the important thing is you've got to string a couple of ends together, don't you? And even if you only score one, it doesn't matter. It's about.
This is a nice bowl.
It is. This is a good opening bowl here from Claire Hendra. Lower the jack, but just came back towards the centre line. And Tana Bruce, it's interesting that now they've both gone to that hand that we, and it's certainly from us, from doing the commentary here, we've certainly thought that it was a more generous or user-friendly draw. Although Tana Bruce is going to be outside that draw line more possibly with weight than.
See, there's a bit of breeze there.
You can see, you're right, there is a bit of more breeze. I can feel some breeze too, but it's the fan they've got to go behind us.
You need it in here. It's pretty.
Oh, it does get pretty warm. It does get pretty warm in here for sure. You can see that line of Claire Hendra is a completely different line, isn't it, to the line that Taylor took.
Yeah.
And so we'll get past the front bowl, coming down towards the jack, just gets a touch on the jack, moves it off the centre line, sits just alongside it. This sort of makes it a bit challenging as well, doesn't it, Dale? Because where that jack's moved to,
It does indeed with that shorter bowl.
that shorter
Sort of
bowl,
right in
doesn't
her
it?
road, really.
It is.
Well,
It's just.
it will be from her end. in
It
a
certainly
way.
will be. It's just, to gauge that line. So Taylor Bruce electing to say, right, well, I'm going to take the open side and just try and hold that scoring line. And she's inside that, and a good line, actually, because you need to be. Going to go get the jack, is it? No, that's.
Just shaved it.
So now, does Claire Hendra go for some cover but count? Alex has arrived with the treasured watermelon. This has been a preparation thing for the last few days. This
Looks pretty good. I'll have a piece later. If there's any left.
So Claire Hendra, she'll be quite happy she's over the head and going to be. And that's really where she wants to be.
Yeah, it's a good home. And it's
Good
counting.
hunt, and it's counting. So all of a sudden it's just minimising the options for, and I don't think you'll see Taylor Bruce play with that same weight as she played trying to get that jack trail with the last. And certainly out on a wider line, which is more on the draw, but you'll see, Dale, how hard it is to come back there. It's just not. It's just not, nothing wrong with the weight really, but it's just not quite as generous on coming back to that centre line. May in fact be second shot.
Yeah, I think so.
So if you're Claire Hendra, you say, right, I'm going to play that hand and try and tip you over once, Dale.
She might do.
If
well, she
tips the
might
Taylor
go
Bruce
firmer
bowl
on it.
over once, she could make a number of it, and of course then it's up to Taylor Bruce then to draw. But she knows now, does Taylor Bruce, that line with where she took her last bowl. That's the line to get into the, perhaps not the shot, but get into the reduction area anyway, isn't it?
Oh, yep, she's going to follow Taylor down by the looks.
So that indicates to me that she's backing herself here. There's Claire Hendra. No danger really, unless she trails the track, but she's inside that.
Just going to draw another one.
Just going to draw another and sit on top of, well, that's definitely only two now.
Yeah, that's a good bowl.
Good bowl. So what do you do? Your Taylor Bruce, the draw is really the only option.
What do you reckon? Jack in the ditch?
Well,
She doesn't want to lose her bowl though, does
I
she?
was just, well, correct. Well, no, she definitely doesn't want to lose her bowl to be off target on the wide side and lose a bowl. Should certainly be looking at 4 down.
Yeah, I think she'll just play that nice weight again and...
So Taylor Bruce's father sitting over there in the corner. The
Mandy in front there.
Mandy sitting down there. Now, what will Taylor Bruce do? She's deliberating about what shot she'll play. And this is trying to reach through those shot bowls.
Oh, can't quite see. She's in the vicinity. Oh, she's played a great
What
shot
a superb bowl to take it
That was
at
a great
20. What a magnificent weighted bowl up through the head.
That's not what we were looking at.
No,
was
that was an outstanding bowl, wasn't it, Dale?
Shot selection, that was. Very good.
Nice controlled weight playing through the bowls. And
Stephen's looking pretty happy with that one.
yeah, you can see him sitting there in the white shirt. Partner of Taylor Bruce looks pretty happy. And, you know, to walk away with this result, a runner-up possibly, well, she not possibly had the runners-up position, but if she could win this, certainly first singles title.
Yeah.
But you never have won until you got 21, have you?
That's correct.
You've just got a loan of you've just got a loan of the numbers until you get to 21. And that head was looking good for Claire Hendra. So in the semi-final, we saw Taylor Bruce play a really, really big bowl to win the game, and that really, you know, so that was a 4-shot turnaround.
It sure was. Yeah.
Which makes a, you know, in the context of the game, makes a big difference.
Yeah, 18-16. It's 2014.
Yeah, it
would have been anybody's at 18-16.
Makes a huge difference. So
She is very tenacious, though. She will.
Oh, absolutely. It's you know, Claire Henry's one of those players where really it's 1-1, and it's just, you know,
just get one.
Oh, she's going to be under the Taylor Bruce bowl here, and that'll be shot for sure. Comes back towards the centre line. It's interesting. They've gone back to that hand. Is Alex always with indoor bowls? Is he in charge of catering as well? Is he?
He's shaking his head at me. No.
Oh, right.
Oh, he's an M&M supplier. That's his.
Oh, he's very good at it. I know. I must say, as far as let's say confectionery and other supplies, Alex is always very good. Great response here though from Taylor Bruce. Just going to finish low and fall out, but only a roll away from being shot.
Claire's always played the hand that she's playing now quite well. You know, like.
Yeah, well, she's mastered it better than a lot of others of playing this hand down. To be fair, a lot of them have struggled, but this time as I've been asking,
on a good track again.
It is on a good track. If it finishes inside that Taylor Bruce bowl, should be quite happy as well. If it sits on it, just goes by, but she'll be quite happy with that position. Yeah. Will Claire Hendra over the head.
Could be handy. Could be 2.
They're asking the question.
Is 1 down.
Just the one was the call from Margaret Eames. And earlier in the week, of course, we saw Calvin Scott defeat Tony Grantham to win the Summerset men's singles, and Sandra Keith and Bev Morrell defeat Taylor Bruce and Claire Hendra. And it's fair to say, I'm sure you'd agree, Dale, that Bev Morrell highlighted that age is no barrier.
No, she was outstanding.
She was,
My
wasn't
God.
she?
Just end after end. She
She owned,
really put the pressure on.
she owned the jack, didn't she?
She did, yeah.
Yeah, she was outstanding, certainly was.
You're holding shot.
No, she was. It was only 4 years ago when she won the pairs skipping. I remember that game.
You've had a couple of those, Dale, haven't you?
Had 5 pairs finals.
Five
I
pairs
think.
finals.
No, 4 pairs finals. I don't. Yeah, 1-1.
Yeah, well. So needs to sit. Just going to go by with a clear Hendra bowl, and the Margaret Eames certainly indicated that it was 1. So really for Taylor, it's just to try and draw it, isn't it?
Yeah, she's got plenty of room. Sit on Claire's bowl game.
Well, we've seen earlier on
special.
today, of course, we've seen Taylor with that last bowl draw to give her the game, but she did so well against Selena Goddard.
Yeah, she was thoroughly composed. She just got down there and she just did it.
She,
And,
yeah, well, I think
her
her
heart was going 100 miles an hour, but she played it. So well.
She played it very, very well. So here is Taylor Bruce, down on the head, but leading 2014. Is she going to draw the shot with this bowl to really put the pressure on Claire Hendra with her last? Turns her own bowl over or
Yeah,
makes
she's gonna
shot of
land
it.
her bowl.
Turns her own bowl over and runs through, falls in. That shot.
That shot, yeah, great shot. Great weight control.
Oh, absolutely. I think her shot selection really, Dale, has been. We saw that last end, scoring that 2 4-shot turnaround, and that's confidence as well, isn't it?
Yes.
With that shot selection to play those shots, and she didn't really, although she wasn't running at that, but she just deliberately played to turn her own bowl into the head, and to make shot of it. So it was well played by Taylor Bruce. Now holding game.
Yeah. Is the rank in the same spot as it was for the PS
Moved a
final?
wee
Moved
bit,
it,
I
okay.
think. And
Talking to her coach.
Craig Merriles. And it would be an absolute delight, I know, for Taylor and her parents, if she's to hold on to this, who have been fantastic supporters around the New Zealand, Australia. Here is now Claire Hendra on the backhand, endeavouring to save the game on the backhand, trying to get down to the shot bowl or the jack. By goodness, this is on a fairly good line. Is it going to hold up long enough? It's getting to the bowl. It's going to turn it over. No
great
change.
attempt.
There it is. It's all over. And Taylor Bruce of the Burnside Club in Christchurch has run out the winner, defeating her peers partner and mate Claire Hendra by 21 shots to 14 to give Taylor Bruce her first New Zealand singles title. She has won 4 titles earlier on. The singles has eluded her on at least 2 or 3 other occasions, but today not to be. And really, Dale, pretty commanding really in the latter stages of that game, wasn't she?
Yeah, she put the foot to the pedal sort of thing and away she went.
Well, she played, to be fair, played a couple of really, really big bowls, did Taylor at that back end of the game, and they really were they were well, that 4-shot turnaround,
that was a game changer.
That was really the game changer, wasn't it? Because we could have easily been at 18-16, 2 down on the mat, turned it into 2 out, got to 20, down again here on this last end, and played the percentage shot, turned it into shot, and I'm going to pose the question now, really, and we spoke about it, Alex and myself earlier, has Taylor Bruce now come of age as a singles player for New Zealand?
I think she has. So she's a very good singles player. She has been for a while, and she's just showing it here today.
She's shown that, I agree. To me, it's interesting how things change, because we watched that Peers final leading up against Bev Morrell, and Taylor really, really, really struggled against Bev Morrell. Get her out here. She's a 4-bowl player, really, isn't she? I think you could say that's her specialty game.
Yeah, I think singles is her game. She loves a challenge. She's determined. She never gives up. She's a great singles player.
Well, Taylor told me a number of years back that she wanted to be the singles player for New Zealand after Joe Edwards.
Oh, you can
Well,
hold the
she's
ball.
heading in the right
That's
direction.
exactly what she told me a number of years ago. And I think today she has proven to me that perhaps
Thank you.
that cap is going to sit on her head.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Right?
Yeah.
Just leave
So
it.
we'll leave you there, and just to confirm once again that
Thank you.
we have Taylor Bruce, who has defeated Claire Hendra of the Silverstream Club in Wellington by 21 shots to 14 to win the Summerset National Women's Singles to go along with her previous four titles.
Thank you.
And we'll be back later on this afternoon where we'll bring you the final and the last event here at the Summerset Nationals in Burnside, when we'll bring you the final of the National Men's Pairs. Thank you, Dale, and we'll be back later on this afternoon.
Thanks, Kevin.